Alright, so there's a young butcher that's been doing some butchering in the rankings of welterweight, and I'm here to predict his rise and his path to victory, to that gold, baby, because I do believe Bryan the Butcher Battle is the real deal, and he's my pick for an eventual welterweight champion. Now, let's just get right into the video. So I want to first start off by the Butcher's stature here, you know? He's a young 30, you know? We have some current champions in their 30, you know? We've got like Sean O'Malley. I think we've got I think that's about all the champions that are in there that is exactly 30. But yeah, he's still young and he's got time, all right? And I know he hasn't fought like the best competition other than Renat, and then that ended up in him losing. However, I'm telling you, man, something about Bryan Battle just speaks to me, you know? I can feel the champion in him, you know? Former fat boy. Love his debut, I guess you could say, if you haven't watched that knockout. Well, I guess here it is. As we can safely see from that footage, yeah, Bryan Battle's been through the ringer. Listen, man, I love Bryan Battle. If you see this, please don't head kick KO me in public for playing that. You know, I just had to show the fans, you know, of the early days of the Butcher, you know. And, of course, he was also known as the Pooh Bear, but he's got a badass nickname now. The Butcher definitely works with Battle. You know, there's a few other. Battle's, like, one of the most sick fucking last names you can have, let's just be honest. But it's my true belief that I do think Bryan Battle is the real deal, and I do think he is championship material. Now, you may disagree, and this video might not be for you. However, you know, welterweight is kind of a stacked division. I think we can all admit that. But I think Bryan Battle's biggest edge that he has is that, well, he does have a pretty crazy track record in terms of weight classes. You know, I believe in the UFC he was even competing at, I don't think it was light heavyweight. I think it was middleweight. Might have been, no, I think it was just middleweight. But regardless, thing with Bryan Battle is he's very adaptive. And what I mean by that is that we can see him evolve his game over time. Like, I know we just saw the, you know, we just saw that KO, but over the course of his record here, we're seeing some improvements. And when he does falter, like that head kick KO, you know, that was one of the sloppiest head movements I've ever seen in my entire fucking days, or I guess my years of experience of watching fighting, amateurs, and even training. That is one of the, like, that's something you see, like, you know, the first guy comes into the gym and it's like, all right, let's practice kicks. And he's just doing something, and he's like, maybe he's a former boxer or whatever, and he's just dipping in, and he just dips into a head kick by accident, you know, once you spar with him for the first time, and then he instantly clicks, and he's like, oh, yeah, I can't do that in this sport, you know? That's kind of like one of those moments you see where it was clear that Bryan Battle just, so, like, the nerves got to him, something got to him, not enough experience, you know what I mean? And it was just, get the fuck out of here, viruses on my computer. Fuck out of here. Anyways, yeah, the Butcher definitely had a rocky start, but every time he's lost, he always goes on a big fucking killer win streak, you know? And that's something I really like. So I think it shows that he's, like, willing to actually put in work. We're not seeing, like, 2-fight loss back in the win column, you know? We're seeing a loss, and then he goes on, you know, 5+ win streak over here, you know? And he's fairly new to the UFC. He has, oh, he has a lot more than I thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 UFC fights. That's kind of fucking incredible, to be honest. And he was piecing up Angelusa, and Angelusa is kind of like the unranked test. If you beat Angelusa, you're going to be top 15 at some point in your career. That's just, like, pretty much guaranteed. Angelusa actually isn't that bad. I know I shit on him because he's a pussy bitch that doesn't have any warrior blood in his genes anymore. He's an absolute fucking coward. But Bryan Battle was piecing his ass up, and he was definitely going to win that fight. Like, just on trajectory. I know, like, these, you know, oh, well, Leon was winning against Bilal in the first fight. Yeah, Leon in that first fight didn't have to be up at 5 a.m. with a fucked up sleep schedule, and Bilal Muhammad was fucking on the same sleep schedule, you know? It's just different times, you know? They didn't force the champion to be up at fucking 5, 6, 7 a.m. doing a fight that completely fucked up his entire sleep schedule. It's a whole other thing. This is just a different level, you know? If they ever rematch Bryan Battle, TKO, not even a question. But the main thing here is that his only loss in the UFC is to Renat Fakhretdinov. Renat. Alright? So that's his only loss. And that's not a bad loss, because early Renat is like a demon. This guy was like, everyone was calling him the next champion, everything, the next Shavkat, whatever the fuck you want to say. You know? Is this the same guy that submitted Kevin Lee? Is that what it was? Yes, it was. Wow, I'm a fucking genius. I didn't even know that. But this guy's still a demon, isn't he? No, he does have losses, I was gonna say. There's no way he's flawless. Yeah, 22-1. Alright? And he went to a fairly decent decision. It wasn't like a terrible look, wasn't like a fraud check situation. But once he loses that, bro, this guy's on a fucking tear, alright? We're not talking about like, oh, he lost a decision, now he just needs to get overall better as a fighter. Bro, he's knocking out people in the first few seconds, then he submits a motherfucker who's a wrestler. AJ Fletcher, I know he's not that great. You know, I know Gabriel Green isn't that great, but these are like pick'em fights, you know? This was an AJ Fletcher plus 400 underdog, you know what I mean? This was AJ Fletcher, I think maybe a slight underdog. And then Angelusa, I think, was actually the favorite, and he was getting his ass beat. And then we had Kevin Jousset, which I know was an underdog for this fight, but that's because people are now realizing Bryan Battle, he is the butcher, you know? Especially from, like, Diablo 4, that, you might not be as thick as that kind of butcher, you know? But he rolls in and he fucks your shit, let me tell you, alright? When you're out there grinding XP, bro, this guy is here to fuck your day up, alright? Now, if you haven't seen thick KO from Bryan Battle and Kevin Jousset, a lot of people thought he was just going to win a decision. This guy's just on a fucking tear, alright? So, now that I've established that the reason why I'm picking him to basically be a champion, not only is his stats pretty good, he doesn't have a short reach, and his height is pretty, like, fair, 6'2". You know, I think he's a pretty tall 6'2". I'm just going to be, I think he might be edging 6'3", just saying. But his age is also a good number, you know? We could see him potentially fight for a title at 32, 33, you know? We're looking at 2027, 2028 type champion. I don't mind that. I mean, the current champion in the division's fucking 36. Can't remember his name, though. What's his name? Oh, fuck, I can't remember his name. Whatever, that boring wrestler who, you know, totally isn't on EPO. Just saying. Anyways, or PEDs. You know, that's a topic for another video, but no contest, Angelusa, whatever. He's fairly early in his professional career. He does have a lot more fights, like, on his record as an amateur, but he just has, like, this willingness to improve in every single fight, and that's what I think is making it different. Also, not to mention, very marketable. He will talk shit, even if you're the nicest guy in the world. Bro, if you give him Wonder Boy, he's pulling out more insults than fucking Colby Covington could ever wish, you know? Fuck the pedo van, bro. He's going straight to the hard shit, you know? Yo, really? Yeah. Sorry. Anyways. Ugh. The Butcher, he just gets me going, you know? Every time I see him, he's top 5 for me, I'll be honest. Top 5 fighters right now, in my personal opinion, you know? And when you watch him fight, he doesn't look the most technical, I will admit. He's not always snappy, but he is when he needs to be, alright? I think that's what's important, alright? He's a slow starter, I guess you could say. But even in his slow starts, I mean, you know, he's fucking live. You know, I think he's a perfect example of if you give him an opportunity, he will take it. You know, if you want to back your ass to the fence and not put your guard up, he will tee off on you and land 6 fucking straight rights in a row like he did to Kevin Jousset. You know, if you're Gabe Green and you just drop your hands right at the beginning of the fight, you're going to get caught very fucking early. If you're AJ Fletcher and you give up your back against Bryan Battle, he will show you there are levels to this game, you know? this guy is an absolute fucking beast, all right? And I'm riding on this, you know? And I'm not sitting here saying that Bryan Battle will never lose again in his rise or whatever. I'm actually predicting there's a few people that give him a few questions right now, but I do think he'll lose. I think he's going to get one more loss in his record, and then it's going to be nothing but gold from there, baby. All right? Now, just looking at the welterweight division, Neil Magny, he smokes. This isn't even a question. One thing Bryan Battle is improving on is he's very good at finding the weakness of some of these fighters. Now, Renat's a different story, but when he was getting these KOs a little earlier on, he's very good at like finding that early opening to just get a KO. So if he's able to just find that early opening for a KO, especially at like middleweight, and then later on when he's in welterweight, he's only got more power, you know? And if he's knocking out people in higher weight divisions and he's coming down and he's having good weight cuts because he was a little bit of a thick boy earlier on in his career, he's got a lot of power. I think Bryan Battle is just one of those dudes that, like, you don't understand his power until you get hit by it, you know? I think a lot of people underestimate Bryan Battle, and I think that's why he's getting away with some of these wins, and that's why I do think he'll come across one loss against top-level opponents. But if we just look at the rankings, just current Bryan Battle right now, he's not even in his final form, but the current Bryan Battle smokes Neil Magny. Everyone knows his weakness is leg kicks. So what is he going to do? Chop up his legs, and he's not going to fucking be a pussy like Mike Malott and gas out in round 3 and fucking, you know, choke to death on his own fucking tears, alright, in the final seconds. Fucking stupid fucking Canadian bastard, you representing my country, you fucking Mike Malott, you piece of... Anyways, Vicente Luque, he has brain rot. Bryan Battle would just smoke Luque. I say that confidently. You know, I think that's a minus 500 Bryan Battle, personally. Moving on, we got Michael Venom Page. I feel pretty confident that Bryan Battle would be able to do it, because I think Bryan Battle would get in Michael Venom Page's head. Almost like an Ian Gary being a wet blanket, but Bryan Battle would make it interesting. And I think Michael Venom Page might be the next fight. I know Guru has been talking about it. However, I think we can give him a Luque after Luque probably beats Nick Diaz, because I think that fight's still going on. Or just a Neil Magny, you know? Sick Magny on him. And I think Bryan Battle passed that test. And if he does pass that test, it's even more reason, you know, to throw him up the rankings. Because Neil Magny seems to be like the fraud checker, you know? If you can't get past Neil Magny, you're not cracking the top 5 ever. Pretty much. But MVP, I think, is a really good matchup for Bryan Battle. Because Bryan Battle... he's not weirdly long, but when you watch him fight, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's hard to really describe, but it's like, it doesn't feel like he should be reaching. He does reach, which is a big problem he has. So I think counter strikers like a Neil Magny, if he played Neil Magny's game, but he wouldn't, would really put in work against Bryan Battle. I think one of Bryan Battle's biggest weaknesses, other than the fact that he's not always snappy, but he is when he needs to be, so it's not really a weakness, but we'll call it a weakness. I think Bryan Battle's biggest honest weakness is the fact that he's very leany in his fight, you know? He leans a lot. When he's going for a jab, he's throwing a jab out, and he's kind of putting his chin a little too far out there. Now, it's tucked, right? But he's throwing a jab while he's going a little too far out there. And I'd like to see him to clean up that a little bit, and that's what would convince me. Minus 500 in these bottom fucking 15, you know? Then you have someone like... Yeah, so the MVP matchup, I do think Bryan Battle would do well, because MVP is a counter striker, kind of, but MVP kind of gets exposed when it comes to what do you have more than just... How do I explain this? MVP is like what Johnny Walker should be on paper, if that makes sense, you know? Without the chin thing, MVP kind of does like ones, twos, you know, backs up, explodes in, does a kick, you know, 1, 2, you know, he does very simple combos. He's not like, you know, fucking Max Hollowaying it up, you know, throwing fucking 15 body shots into 5 headshots and then knocking their ass out in the final second, you know? He's much more of a, you know, tap, you know, back away, wait for an opening, see the opening, get in there, you know, hook, whatever it is, right? You know, wait for the opportunity, get in with that one strike is kind of how I describe MVP. And I think if you tried to do that against Bryan Battle, he would just smother you, kind of like he did with Kevin Jusay. You know, one thing about Battle, he's not afraid of a firefight, and the dude's been knocked out before, you know? And I feel like that's given him the confidence of, like, you can kind of see it when he fights. When he gets hit, he just keeps on fucking going forward, you know? He's like almost like an Alex Pereira, Khalil Roundtree situation, where he's just gonna fucking walk your ass down. Kevin Jusay was landing pretty decent shots on Bryan Battle, and he literally just kept on walking through it. And they weren't like pussy shots. They weren't just like, you know, little jabs here and there, you know? They were like full on, full force shots, all right? And I would just say that I think Bryan Battle would just smother MVP. Like, MVP would get a lot of opportunities to kind of connect. But I think at the age of, how old is he? 37? 38, I want to say? 30... Oh, fuck. Let me just... MVP age. Yeah, 37. April. Ooh, he's probably going to be 38 by the next time he fights, let's be honest. But... yeah, I don't think he's going to have that same level of power that he's been having. You know, great performance against Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland sucks, you know? And I even picked him in Kevin Holland's fight, alright? Just saying. But I do think he would smoke someone like MVP. I think we would see a knockout. I think like a Douglas Lima situation where it'd just be that clean shot in the chin, you know? Because I have this feeling that, like, just based on watching Bryan Battle, he looks for those weaknesses and he tries to replicate those situations, and he just fucking, he just tees off, and I love it. Oh man, Warrior Jeans, holy fuck. Anyways, moving on, Michael Morales. Michael Morales isn't bad, and I think would give Bryan Battle a little bit of issues, but I think Michael Morales kind of lacks the whole, how do I say this? Michael Morales, I think, has a great skill set, but I think it caps out. You know, like, a good example is like someone who has, Michael Morales is someone who has a lot of talent and works fairly hard, but it doesn't seem like Michael Morales is going to improve that much. He's not really improving in every fight. He's just kind of doing every fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's still kind of using the same skill set, maybe slightly better than the last time he was out, but nothing like, wow, this guy's fucking a monster. You know, if we take a quick look at Michael Morales, I know he's 17-0, crazy win streak with finishes, but like, you know, like, Magny, you know what I mean? Like, old 45-year-old Magny, you know what I mean? Jake Matthews, you know, going on a decision with him is just like, you know, Max Griffin. It's like, I don't like seeing these decisions, you know? And he's kind of just picking up a hot streak now in terms of, you know, exploding. You know, we got a KO over Fugit. Fugit sucks. Everyone knows that. And is this Trevin Giles? Yeah, Trevin Giles. Also doesn't have a chin, and he KOs him. Nice. This would be a great fight if they want to pair two prospects up. I think Bryan Battle gives him problems, man. I think it's close, but I think Bryan Battle would give this kid some fucking problems, alright? Moving on from the Michael Morales. Oh shit. Let me just see rankings. Pull that back up. Ugh. Yeah. Michael Morales, I'd pick Bryan Battle personally. Stephen Thompson, while Stephen Thompson's striking is just another level, I think Bryan Battle's willingness to just push forward would kind of overwhelm him, similar to Buckley. I also don't think he's scared of shooting the takedown. And we all know that Stephen Wonderboy, as soon as the takedown threat is there, it's unfortunate, but the age just can't keep up, you know? Moving on, Jeff Neal. I think Bryan Battle smokes Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal, I think, is over the hill, and I think he's done. I think he's, you know, and a lot of these matchups so far, other than Michael Morales, is kind of like, these fighters are all over the hill. But now we get interesting. A Joaquin Buckley, I favor Battle. I'm just being honest, you know? I think Bryan Battle takes him to a third round, either submission or TKO, you know? Buckley's good, don't get me wrong, and he's been on a heater, but he's not looking great. He's not looking impenetrable in any of his fights, and we know his chin isn't that great, you know? And while Bryan Battle would walk into some of the strikes, and I'd be worried there, I think if Joaquin Buckley shot a takedown, I think it'd be sloppy, and I think Bryan Battle would catch something off that take. I'm talking like a ghillie, I'm talking like a fucking armbar, I think Bryan Battle would be able to catch a submission off Buckley, because I think Buckley's takedowns lack... Thing with Buckley is that if you look at his track record here, we got Wonder Boy. Okay, he's not gonna have a submission threat whatsoever. You have Ruziboev, which just kind of sucks and got fraud checked. You have Luque, brain rot. His brain was bleeding in that fight, and then you have Morono. All right, and then everything else I don't really care because, like, again, these guys aren't black belts, whatever. Morono's the only one that presents any sort of issue on the ground, but we all know Morono is one of the most inconsistent fighters in UFC history, and he just doesn't want to submit people when it goes to the ground, I guess, anymore, at least, especially at the ripe old age of 86. He's just not able to, you know? So, if we're looking at a matchup like a Joaquin Buckley versus a Bryan Battle, I'm picking Battle. I think it's close. I think minus 150, plus 115. I think roughly around those odds. You know, minus 150 Bryan Battle. I think it's close. And I'd have a lot of questions in the fight. I think he smokes him. Gilbert Burns, I'm seeing a knee up the middle. You know, I'm seeing he gets caught, and then he just continues going in. All right, the Butcher going in for the kill on Gilbert Burns. You know. And Gilbert Burns is also aging poorly, you know, so far his real competition is a Michael Morales, Joaquin Buckley. Everything else is kind of like everyone's over the hill, and I think it's time for the Butcher to start retiring some of these old fighters. I do, man, I do. And then we got Ian Gary. Oh my god. Oh, what I wouldn't sacrifice to see Bryan Battle smoke Ian Gary, you know? Oh my god, that, just imagining the buildup. Let's say Ian Gary doesn't fight for another 6 to 8 months, and we got Bryan Battle, Neil Magny, smoked, Stephen Thompson, smoked, or an MVP, then Stephen Thompson. I'm telling you, bro. Book it, alright? Book it. I'd love that build-up. You already know Bryan Battle's going straight to the cuck shit. You already know he's saying, yeah, go sit in the corner and watch me. Yeah, we don't need to get into it, alright? We don't need to get into Ian Gary's business. Anyways. I think he would beat a Colby Covington just because Covington just doesn't have it anymore, another over-the-hill fighter, but I would favor him in an Ian Gary matchup, you know? And then we look at Sean Brady. This is another one that might cause problems because Sean Brady is just that level of grappling. However, we have seen people with good jabs light up Sean Brady. And while Bryan Battle doesn't have the best... He doesn't have a perfect jab. His jab is getting better. And I think by the time he would be in the top 5 conversation... Looking at a guy with a pretty dangerous fucking jab, alright? I think Sean Brady would be the first hurdle that Bryan Battle might not necessarily need to fight, because Sean Brady doesn't really fight a lot of these up-and-comers, but he's been fighting a lot of, like, the people who have been around for a while. And I think Sean Brady will eventually get a title shot and all this other stuff, but Sean Brady's another, like, underrated guy. I don't think they would fight each other, personally. I don't think they would ever make this matchup. They could. I just don't see it. Moving on, JDM. Oh boy. Now we get into the hard conversations. Now, JDM currently, Shavkat currently, I think are the biggest tests for Bryan Battle. And these are the ones that it's up in the air right now. I need to see more from the Butcher. You know, we need to see how he does with some of these rank tests, and we need to see where he's at in the next couple of years. But I think he could be on level with these guys. And I mean that, you know. I think JDM, did he lose, or was it like a close decision? I think it was a close decision, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a close decision. Was it this one? Basil Hafez, right? Not JDM. JDM. Basil Hafez? Correct. Split decision. Yeah, I remember this. So we've seen JDM actually struggle, but this is a little bit earlier on, and this is kind of what, like, you know, I'd put this on level with Renat versus Bryan Battle as a test. You know, personally, that's where I think, not in terms of Basil Hafez is the same as Renat, but in terms of just like, this is where you see the fighter struggle the most, you know. But I think we can all be honest. Gilbert Burns was about to win that 3-0 on the scorecards against Jack Della Maddalena. If JDM didn't get that third round TKO or KO, it would have been over for JDM. Hype train gone. All right. And I think as we see Bryan Battle evolve, we're gonna see that he's gonna be very. I'm telling you, man, he's gonna hone in on like these little things. Ooh, ooh, I can't wait. Oh my god, just imagining his next fight. Anyways, moving on from that, Shavkat, I also think is a problem. Now, Shavkat, I know some people think he's overrated. Some people still think he's a killer. I'm on the bandwagon that he's a killer. And I think Bryan Battle right now just isn't ready for that boss. But, you know, sometimes you got to do some side quests, and sometimes you got to gain some experience before you tackle the final boss, that is Shavkat. And I think that's the situation with the Butcher. You know, I think he needs to hang around in Diablo 4 and start fucking killing some of those, you know, barbarians and shit that are walking in the caverns. And once he gets some of that XP while he's down there in the caverns, he, you know, he'll get enough XP. Alright, that's what I'm saying. And he'll come back when the raid boss of Shavkat is ready to be soloed by Bryan the Butcher Battle. But I think he smokes Usman, even right now. I think he'd get desperate with takedowns, and I think Battle would look like a Leon Edwards type situation, and he would just like be able. I think Kamaru's biggest problem right now is that you know how to beat him, and that's just to anti-wrestle and then just strike with him. That's kind of how you beat him. And Kamaru Usman's even said on podcasts and shit, he's not doing any of this striking nonsense. He's going straight for the takedowns. If he does do that, by the time Battle gets up here in the rankings, they're gonna crucify all these nut huggers. You know, the UFC is gonna burn them at the stake like a Mario Batista, Merab Dvalishvili, after Merab loses to Sean O'Malley in the rematch. But yeah, I think he beats him. I think he beats Leon Edwards just because I don't think Leon Edwards has the power to put Battle away. Because I think Battle's chin is gonna. This is my prediction, man. I think a lot of these fighters are gonna think that he's able to get knocked out and that he doesn't hit that hard. I think what's gonna happen a lot of these times, he's not gonna get knocked out. And he's gonna run forward. And he's gonna put hands on your boys. All right. You know, and I think he smokes Belal Muhammad. I think anyone smokes Belal Muhammad, but, you know, unless you're in his country. Ooh. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, that's my prediction. I think the real way he gets ranked is Neil Magny, easy test. Smoke Neil Magny, get 15. Comfortable 15 by the end of this year, December, November. After he does that, I think maybe we move up, okay? And we fight an MVP coming off a win to Wonderboy, I think is the way. You know, and then MVP will be 11. And I think Battle will then beat MVP or Steven Thompson, depending whoever wins that at number 11. And then he'll be just edging top 10. I think something's going to happen weird in the rankings, and then he'll be top 10. Once he is top 10, and by weird in the rankings, I mean someone's going to get pushed out because they lost embarrassingly to someone. Maybe a Burns. Burns could get pushed down just because of how bad it's aging. Same with Colby Covington. I could see that happen. And then we see, you know, we're talking like March. Yeah, like March, April-ish. I think we're looking at a Bryan Battle being ranked in the top 10. Maybe in May. And then we're looking at, honestly, I think we're looking at a loss to either a JDM coming off a loss, a Shavkat coming off a loss, or a Brady coming off a loss. And that's where personally I think Bryan Battle would end up. I think he would end up losing to one of these guys. And then let me tell you, he would come back, fire under his ass. And by next October, he's smoking whoever the fuck is in top 7. I don't even know, our top 6. I don't know who it would be at this time. If I'm going to make an educated guess, probably a JDM, because I think Shavkat beats JDM personally. Probably a Sean Brady. probably... Okay, maybe not Sean Brady. Let's rule off Sean Brady. Leon Edwards for sure. Leon Edwards being like top 5 in next October. Bro, I'm telling you, Battle. Get that fight. I'm telling you, easiest top 5. Easiest top 5. And then once he's in top 5, top 5 eliminator belt for the title. Whoever's coming off a loss to the champion, probably at the time being Shavkat. Maybe an Ian Gary. I could even see that as a good fight, And listen, Battle, if you ever watch this, my brother, all you need to do, I'm telling you, you get a fight with Ian Gary and you make him look like a bitch. Oh my. You don't even need the belt at that point. Negotiate for a contract, millions, bro. I'm telling you, bro. Easy, light work, Shit gonna be easy for you, brother. But yeah, that's personally how I see it going down. Because I do think all of these over-the-hill fighters, if we look at Bryan Battle's fights, actually watch their fights, his fights, all the over-the-hill fighters, I think are clear. And we see TKO by punches, and it was a kind of a sick finish. We're seeing a submission rear naked, so once he gets the back, we're seeing another KO in the first few seconds. We're seeing another KO in the first few seconds, Just saying, man. First few seconds of the round, if he's live and any of these over-the-hill fighters, I'm talking Neil Magny, smoked. Vicente Luque, smoked. MVP, first few seconds, smoked, Steven Thompson, as sad as it is, smoked. Jeff Neal, smoked. Burns, smoked. Fucking Covington, I'm telling you, man, this guy's gonna be different. I'm telling you. He's coming back with a vengeance. Boom! Fat boys represent, alright? And I'm not just saying this because he's a former fat man and, I'm currently working on some weight loss goals myself. But, yeah, I do think this guy's a real deal. And I think he's a problem in this division, alright? And my personal take is that this guy will eventually hold gold, thinking at 33, 34, probably be around there. And if not, he could be one of the biggest names in welterweight. Alright? I'm not talking Conor McGregor like that level, but just saying, he's good. He's really, really fucking good. And I think he's only getting better. And I am predicting him to lose at some point. And when he does lose, he'll look even fucking better the next fight. Alright, let me tell you. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Just wanted to get a fun little passion video out there. I love watching Bryan Battle. He is definitely top 5, maybe top 10 of my current fighters on the roster. I just love the way he fights. I love his, not ego, I love his enthusiasm, no? You can see when he fights, he's got a lot of passion for the game. A lot of these fighters are fucking boring. I'm so tired of watching these fighters. Yeah, well, a lot of respect to the guy because he wants to fight, shaking hands and fucking, hugging after the fight, sitting on your knees and fucking praying after hugging each other, or being these fake two-faced fucking losers like Manel Cap. Fucking, oh, I'm gonna fuck you up, da-da-da-da-da. Start to fight with him outside of the cage, and then as soon as the fight's over, salam alaikum, bismillah, my brother, yes, my brother. I'm tired of this shit. I need the Butcher. I need the Butcher's type style in this fucking fight game, alright? This motherfucker, real deal. My pick for welterweight. I will not pick a single fighter against him. Other than a Shavkat. But that's a road that I'll cross probably years from now, alright? But anyways, just wanted to make a passion video. Thought it'd be fun. A little goofy. Mix up some things. But with all that being said, I want to thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you have a good day.